All right, we got some historic, groundbreaking news, everyone. Hey, everyone, this is Nikachu, Merfolk Master, and the StarCityGames Tour has been updated in a big shift for Magic the Gathering, and I think they're taking the first step, which I think Wizards of the Coast is going to take further steps in the same direction. They're replacing all their legacy events with Pioneer. You know, like I said, it was very clear that Legacy, as it was shrinking, was going to be the thing that was going to get kicked out by this new format, Pioneer. And well, we can look at the article here by the Pete Hoffling. So this is what they have for Star City Games going on for the year 2020. In order to continue improving the event experience for our attendees and providing live coverage of every Star City Games Open weekend for Magic the Gathering fans throughout the world, Star City Games Tour has continually had to evolve in order to appeal to the largest number of players possible and maximizing the chances of each event being successful. With these things in mind, Wizards of the Coast's recent introduction of a new non-rotating constructed format made it clear that it was time for our tournament series to evolve once again. Now, in the past, Star City Games has phased out a lot of legacy events as it was clearly not being as successful as, for example, Modern. And, you know, like Standard is, the popularity comes and goes, but, you know, Legacy was just clearly shrinking, and now it's just being completely replaced by Pioneer. So starting in 2020, the Legacy format will no longer be utilized as part of the Star City Games Tour, and we will instead spotlight the format at select special events, such as one or both of our Star City Games convention, Magic the Gathering conventions. Meanwhile, the Pioneer format will be incorporated into the 2020 Star City Games Tour in a variety of ways. So we've got... There will be individual opens, team constructed opens, along with modern and standard. I predicted that. I saw that team events were going to move in the direction of standard, modern, and standard, pioneer, and modern, phasing out standard, modern, legacy. Finding the legacy player, finding the legacy cards, getting all that stuff together. Not everyone can do that. If you don't have a legacy friend, you're out. You're out of this sort of event. But now with it being standard, pioneer, modern, I expect that there will be higher attendance and a lot more happiness amongst people who construct a team. The classics, so they're losing. Legacy is being lost in the classics, so you can't even play like a decently sized side event anymore in the Legacy format. Invitational qualifiers and open trials. So we may also potentially utilize the Pioneer format for future regional championships, invitationals, and players' championships, but the formats of these 2020 events will be announced as they are confirmed. Here's the 2020 Star City Games Tour Season 1 calendar, updated to include all Quarter 1 Open and Classic formats. So if we look at this event, it's Team Modern, Modern, Team Constructed, Team Constructed, and this is going to be Modern, Pioneer, Standard, Modern, Pioneer, Standard. That's the future of team events. It's Standard, Modern, and Pioneer, and it's all Pioneer and Modern. Like Star City Games, by far and large, has a lot of trust in the Pioneer format, and especially since just the recent bannings from Wizards of the Coast, they're making it clear that they're not BSing around. They're not going to let it dissolve into something like Standard where there's like, it's a 3-deck format or something like that. You know what? Copycat, you had way too many copies of that Copycat deck. You're banned. They're just hammering down every nail that sticks out, and they're going to make it a very healthy, diverse format in the long run. So as Star City Games puts their full trust into this format, and I mean, the results are already in. There's tons of interest, a lot of gameplay, real organic viewership. A lot of people are very excited for Pioneer, so why not jump into it? So as always, we welcome all constructive feedback and will respond as much as possible on Twitter. Thank you for all your blah, 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 blah. Yes, it's all good. So the deal is, like, this is a big historic change for Magic. It's a huge historic change. I mean, there was a point where Vintage just put everyone, like, was priced everybody out. But you could still experience the super powerful format with reserved list cards, the classic cards from the ancient days of Magic, from Revised, from since the days of Alpha and Beta. You could play with these cards in Legacy. Legacy was the format to relive the old glory days of Magic the Gathering. Not in the same way as Vintage, but like in a reasonable competitive fashion. And it was hanging on by a thread, and now it's completely disappeared. From StarCityGames, who used to promote Legacy. I mean, Legacy was just strongly promoted by StarCityGames in the past. They're the ones who had the Legacy Open like every second weekend. There was always Legacy coverage. If you want to know something about Legacy, go watch the coverage from StarCityGames. They had it for you. So once the distributor of Legacy content and promoter of Legacy events, now just completely abandoning it, as you know, time is just taking its course. The prices of reserve list cards just keep rising and pricing out new people. And as tournament attendance shrinks, as prices rise and tournament attendance shrinks, it discourages anybody from entering the format. Like, why spend like $2 to $3 to $4 grand on a deck when there's like rarely any tournaments available, when you could like buy into Modern, Standard, Pioneer, and there's events firing like on a weekly or multiple times a week, at least a weekly basis. So I'm sure this is going to come to a big shock to a lot of people, and this is just the beginning. I would not be surprised if Wizards of the Coast schedule for GPs is going to follow something incredibly similar to this. Very similar to this. Maybe there will be a Legacy GP, but whatever Legacy events there are going to be for this year, probably is going to be very few or none by the next year. And it's a shame for the Legacy players, because I know there weren't that many Legacy events, but they were pretty well attended. Like, GPs could get over 2,000 people. That's impressive. So while there weren't that many Legacy events available, people did support it and showed up to the ones that they could. But, you know, I mean, there's all sorts of videos that could be made about, like, the Legacy environment. It's, like, awkward, you know, if you have enough money to play Legacy, you also don't have the time to play Legacy because you have, like, you know, you're a responsible adult, you have some family obligations. But, yeah, I don't know. What's your take? For those, I mean, there's a lot of people who, you know, they never got an opportunity to play Legacy, and I mean, it was quite a format. It's quite a format. You know, Delver is a hell of a deck. All the archetypes are hell of a decks. It had a unique feel to it that no other format did, and I mean, it's not, still, again, it's not gonna literally die, but it's gonna take the same. It's gonna be handed over to the online communities like Vintage has. So it's up to the communities to foster and take care of Legacy the same way that Vintage has been taking care of themselves. And now Magic is taking a completely new direction in paper with formats that can be fully supported by Wizards of the Coast. Completely supported. So anyway, let me know what you think about this. Were you a Legacy player? How do you feel about this? Are you going to be playing less Legacy? Because, like, I mean, there were already few Legacy tournaments out there. So does this really change a whole lot of your tournament schedule? Or did you just dominantly play online, which you can play any day of the week, all the time? Anyway, let me know in the comment section below. This has been Nikachu, Merfolk Master, talking about Legacy basically being replaced by Pioneer.